According to reports, President Muhammadu Buhari has approved payment of 164 million naira for the second semester school fees of the 106 Chibok girls at the American University of Nigeria in Yola. This was in line with the president's commitment to personally monitor the rehab and integration of the freed girls to the society. Now, what are your thoughts on this? It's been trending, it's been discussion, people have been discussing for the past few days. Has anybody able to do the average of how much per child? That's 106.
It's about over 1 million per child.
All right, so people have been talking about this stuff, and I mean, we mentioned it briefly. Was it yesterday?
And, it was in the papers yesterday.
It was in the papers yesterday. And people had their comments. So let me start with to talk about what are your thoughts on the fact that our government is actually sending these girls to school, especially in Nigeria, though.
Yeah. I am very happy that government took responsibility of the Chibok crisis, especially the kidnapped girls. I'm happy with the fact that there was a period, they gave them a 9-month period where they did the briefing, psychological rehab, all that for them. But I cannot rationalize how we have decided, why we've decided to take these signposted girls, 106 of them, and put them in a university that cost over 1 million naira per child. When we have a deficit in our academic, as in the educational sector in the Northeast. I cannot understand it. Because we focus so much. There's even an office of Chibok girls in Abuja, and we do not remember that there were more than just these Chibok girls kidnapped. Damasak had 300 children from school also kidnapped. We had Boninyadi, 40 boys were killed in Yobe. And yet, we've focused on this few and prioritized them to the point of, yes, I understand.
Well, sometimes I get worried because it feels as if we are confused as to what we want. If these girls were not reintegrated into society, we'll say, oh, they abandoned them. We're trying to say that we don't
have 11 million children out of school in the Northeast alone.
So what would you rather?
We have 11 million.
So what would you rather?
168 million naira would do a whole lot for 11 million out of school. So why do you focus on 106 when you have 11 million children out of school? Misplaced priorities we see displayed in every area of government. Why would you spend 168 when you have 11 million children out of school? Now can we prioritize the education of every Nigerian?
So the 11, hang
on. Let's hear what she wants to say.
I'm not defending the government in any way, but the 11 million, the fact that 11 million are out of school is a totally different issue. Let's compartmentalize these issues. Yes, the Chibok girls, one arm. The government is investing in education much more than they did in the last budget. So let's assume that this new budget, hopefully, would accommodate these 11 children that are out of school. But the point is that their difference is about 60 billion.
61 billion.
It's more than 10 billion more than last year.
It was
the point I'm trying to make is that let's stop joining issues. They are two totally different things.
It's education.
I disagree.
Okay.
Because I went to Unilag.
Right.
And so the woman that I have become is because of 3 degrees in Unilag. I did not go to any private school.
Oh, your problem is the private fact.
No, hold on. If you take 168 million and put in a government university, it will change that, even if it's one institution, be it University of
Maiduguri
or University of Yola or let's even say these girls are so traumatized that you want to take them to Abuja out of the environment at which they were traumatized.
Or bring them to Lagos.
Listen, Morayo, we are not confused. We are not asking the government to abandon them. We want them to do better. So yes, fund their education because it's a system failure that put them in that situation. Yes. But the private university that you're taking them to is the one that is benefiting. Now let's calculate. Per child now, if you're paying just school fees, hold on. Okay. If you're just paying school fees, who is going to give them pocket money? So they're going to buy textbooks, they're going to need accommodation, they're feeding. Who is going to fund that? So are we going to use government coffers that we do not have, government money we do not have enough of, to just to take care of a few people?
You don't send them to school.
Put them in government schools.
Oh, so then another Boko Haram will now come and kidnap them. Hanging them. Listen, they are human beings. The point is that, yes, these children are signposts. I'm not in any way defending the government. I'm just trying to make us understand the two sides of the story.
So Boko Haram is Unilag.
What they're trying.
I understand their side, but you see, they sound confused to me.
What they are trying to say is they should fund government schools.
Yes.
Make sure that government schools have
Functional way.
And so instead of giving Atiku school the money and dashing him,
Right.
he that already has enough money, go give the
Public schools.
and
So that more people can benefit.
more people can benefit, and the schools too will benefit. So it's a thing. It's something that will now carry on. It's not just when the Chibok girls finish,
Let me
everything
come to YK.
ends.
But do you agree? Do you agree?
Let
that
it carry over.
YK, do you agree,
for-
though? I agree
Yes,
with you, YK. But do you agree that these girls have been through so much, right?
Yeah.
We all did everything to support
make
the
sure
government
that
to
they
ensure
came back.
they came back to us.
Yes.
So they are back.
Yes.
Yes, maybe they are specially privileged
Which
to
is
attend
okay.
this school.
Which is
Maybe the
okay.
government say, you know what, let's do everything, invest in these girls so that we can actually see they grow up into mature and constructive citizens of the country. So it is possible. But why are we suddenly now frowning an eye
Your
because the
everybody,
government
the
is,
media,
is
the
paying
Western
attention to
media.
these girls?
I totally understand where you're coming from.
So stop
Roya.
joining the issue with the issue of our dilapidated
I thought-
educational system. We understand
But
that
it
very
is being funded
clearly.
by our money.
No,
Do you
I-
get it, Morayo?
no,
It's our
we
money.
don't-
It's not public
stop
funds.
shouting.
It's our money.
You don't solve a problem by shouting. You talk quietly. Let's talk quietly.
Okay, what-
See, what we are trying to say
Yes.
is that they should just fund the government universities.
Yes.
I agree that those children
Yes.
should grow.
Be given kind of special
should be given
treatment.
a special
Yes.
because they were actually traumatized.
Yes.
But you see,
We'll not come back from Boko Haram how many
Government-
years, not just dump you somewhere.
government-
No,
This
what we are
is-
doing
Morayo,
really is ensuring
Morayo,
that these
they
girls
have-
who
why
are
do you say we should
denied
talk quietly?
proper education.
Let me just quickly talk this
quietly.
quietly. Because we have a crisis in the Northeast with IDP people not getting basic food to eat or
know.
access to education.
No, it's not
So
we
when
know.
we are focusing on, let us specially take care of these few people
That's not-
in neglect of the entire population.
No, that's wrong.
And
Why would
no,
you say
Morayo,
anybody's neglecting?
why are we-
Nobody is neglecting the girls in the girls that are in Northeast.
So
Nobody's
what-
neglecting
but what is
them.
so- we're not hearing
It's
about them.
Everybody.
Why, the only reason we're talking about Chibok is because the Western media has publicized and signposted them. We're doing lip service and now making it look like we're doing something. No, we are putting in private
It just
university.
seems like
We're doing something,
electioneering.
No.
IDP
Can
politics
can
to me.
everybody feel this impact of this money that is being pumped into education?
Which is why I am recommending, if you want to take those girls out, for instance, rather than spending forex, taking them abroad because you want to, treat them well, if you brought them to Unilag, you won't spend more than 200,000 per session
Bello
on each
University.
girl. And Unilag will benefit, and it is to the government's benefit. So you are using what you have to achieve what you want.
All right.
So you give them pocket money, you'll be
stop
flying them to
shouting.
Lagos.
All right, point taken.
stop shouting. It's
Somebody
not only
said
Unilag.
that.
It's not only that Unilag will benefit. They will benefit for many years to come.
Okay.
You see, the schools will. Now, you see, what we are saying is in the IDP camps, they are suffering. Go.
Suffering. And there are people actually helping them in the IDP camps.
That's what you
Lots
think.
of which people? Since we're talking quietly, let's go on a quick break. When we come back,
One
we'll
tweet,
continue.
one
Stay
tweet
with us.
before you
We'll
go.
be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. Violence against women and girls is a grave violation of human rights. Its impact ranges from immediate to long-term multiple physical, sexual, and mental consequences for women and girls, including death. Joining us on the show is the founder of Women at Risk International Foundation, WARIF, Dr. Kemi Da Silva Ibro. Welcome to the show.
We're so excited to have you.
Now, we don't want people to start saying, oh, you're only focusing on women, because we know lots of women now are actually killing their husbands. But at the same time, the reason why we're focusing on this is because last Saturday is actually the day to remember International Day for Violence Against Women.
Against
so
women,
that's why we want to focus a bit on it today.
So, men, don't be annoyed, though.
So, in your view, how far have we come as a country, first of all, in this violence against women? Because there's been a lot of sensitization out there. People talk about it all the time. We see issues trying to take men to court, or the victims can't speak for themselves anymore. As of today, in your view, how far have we come, or do you think we've come far enough, or do you think we still have a lot to learn concerning violence against women?
Well, with regards to how far we've come,
Yes.
we're certainly not far enough.
Right.
But then with regards to, are we talking about it more? Is there more of a spotlight on the problem? Certainly. I think more and more women are speaking out. Not enough, sadly, because we look at the statistics of the problem and we say that 1 in 4 girls, by the time she reaches age 18, would have had one violent sexual encounter.
Jeez.
And at least 70% of them would have had more than one.
One in how many women?
1 in 4 in Nigeria today.
Right.
Wow.
And so if we look at our statistics and we say we're a population of an average of 160 million, and 50% of us are women, and we're relatively young, so about 60% of us are under the age of 24. That's 10,000 girls every day.
Wow.
Every day.
Every day.
I wanted to quickly ask your opinion about the Chibok girls and the violence against them and how the government is resolving that issue. Do you think that they're doing enough?
I mean, any woman that's been traumatized, whether it be the Chibok incident or whether it's the girl that's next door, needs special attention. She needs the medical attention, especially within that first 72 hours. And then she needs the counseling because it is a traumatic event. And each individual needs a certain amount of counseling, and you can't predict. It's not a one-shop-fits-all.
Right.
And so is the government doing enough? I think they've started. They're on the road. They're looking at this as a problem. And then I heard that. I heard your point about the private university. And I also heard you say you went to Unilag. I went to Medilag. So I totally relate to what you're saying. But at the same time, we cannot ignore the fact that they do need special attention because they were traumatized. Now, whether private university is the answer, I mean, that's another conversation for another day.
We've been talking about creating awareness concerning this violence, women getting raped. 1 in 4 is a shocking statistics. 25%. But I realized that I've been in such when I was much younger, and it was based on not even knowing that what happened was an assault on my person. I didn't even know. It was based on, as an adult now that I realized that person shouldn't have done that. She shouldn't have done that. It was not right. I didn't do anything to deserve that. How are we bridging the gap of letting even the young girls know when someone does this, it is unacceptable. This is an assault. Somebody shouldn't talk to you like that. They shouldn't hold you like that. They shouldn't touch you like that. Right. How are we bridging that gap and letting them know what is bridging their private space?
Well, my organization, the Women at Risk International Foundation, WARF, it was established a year ago, and the idea was simply to address this high incidence that we're talking about. And we do this by implementing initiatives, and our initiatives are impactful and are measured. So one of the initiatives that we carry out is a school initiative. We go into secondary schools, and we talk to young girls and boys between the ages of 13 and 16 to address what the prevalence is, which sadly, from all our surveys, confirms the 1 in 4 data. And then we also wanted to establish what their mindset is. Because the truth is, the average girl or boy that lives in a home of abuse has a different mindset to what's right and what's wrong when it comes to gender-based violence. A boy that sees his mother brutalized every day with nobody intervening.
Thinks it's normal.
Thinks it's absolutely normal. So when he grows up to become an adult, chances are that when he gets married, he will strike his wife. And likewise, the young girl that has seen mom being brutalized, but mom is still making dinner every evening, and mom is still warning the children, don't go out and discuss this. Normal. She assumes that when I grow up, perhaps this is the normal way to behave.
Can you share a few of the stories of what you've heard? Like a few stories, because some people might not really understand what all this is about.
The saddest case that I've had to deal with, a young girl of 2 that was assaulted by her father.
Oh my gosh.
And as a medical professional, sexually assaulted. Wow. And I had to take her into the operating room, and that was really traumatic. We've had to deal with young girls as young as 11 that are pregnant. We've had to deal with all ages, because the sad truth is sexual abuse, rape, has no criteria.
Right.
And so the fact that, I mean, whether even the gender is not a criteria, because someone mentioned earlier on that boys are also tragically survivors. I wanted to bring
the issue of human trafficking, because the spotlight has been on this issue recently. And the fact that we know some government officials are trying hard to help to rehabilitate girls that have been trafficked and they're back in Lagos, back in the country. Now, when girls go through this kind of trauma of going through these dangerous journeys and they're deported and home, somehow they're integrated into society, and they actually get into violent relationships, or they get into normal relationships and they still have issues. But it's almost as though that people don't understand the gravity
of what they've been through.
What they've been through, because you just expect them to just move, you're back home, move on. So when people have that issue, what's the right step to rehabilitate girls like that?
Counseling. Counseling.
Right. But people don't believe in counseling.
Sadly, but this is
not in our culture.
Well, I think things are changing a little. I think nowadays, yes, that the average family unit hides the fact that anything untoward is going on. Whether it's sexual abuse, whether it's physical abuse, whether it's mental disease. And so, yes, a lot of times you have the individual not being given access to the care because the family are more concerned about the image that they give.
Who do you talk to?
There are counselors available. For
Where do
instance,
we find them?
For instance, the Warrior Center, one of the initiatives that we've implemented is a rape crisis center. It's a facility that's available in Yaba. It's a walk-in facility, and we offer free services to anyone that we see.
Wow.
So in addition to the medical care that we offer, the HIV tests that are necessary, the treatment that's necessary, as well as forensic medical examinations, because again, it is a crime, and there are situations where in the judiciary you need to prove that it is a crime. So we're able to then carry out these examinations. We also offer counseling, and the counseling is an integral part of the care. We've been very fortunate to partner with the Washington, D.C. Rape Crisis Center. And so they were able to send us counselors to train our counselors. And I say our counselors because it's important for us to be able to transfer skills back home. Because a lot of our issues are stemmed in our culture.
Right, you're right. Culture is a major issue. We need to keep talking about this because this is a major issue for us. But let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll hopefully get some kind of closure on this. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So, Waike had a question?
Yes, I was saying, you know, this counseling, will it deal with the male and the female? Because everybody has been traumatized. The little boy, for instance, that watched his mother die, might grow up thinking, oh, it's normal to kill his wife in future. So this counseling, do you have for male and female?
Yes,
the
counseling,
male gender and the female gender?
Counseling is for everyone. I was just saying to you that even though when we talk about abuse, what comes to mind is a woman or a young girl, because women are the more vulnerable group. But then men and young boys are also survivors of abuse. I mean, in Nigeria, 1 in 8 boys is actually statistically, you know, one of the poor young boys abused or have seen some sort of evidence of abuse or the other. And so counseling should be offered to everyone, to the boy, to the child, even to their neighbor.
Nobody's offered, but men don't come. Male ego.
No, but nobody goes for
But
counseling.
no one wants, no one
go.
likes, no one exactly, and as you said, the environment doesn't encourage one to go for counseling.
What I would like to find out from where is, I know that people who are educated, generally educated, have an idea. So if you choose not to go for counseling, you decide. But there's some in the lower cadre of society that don't even have a clue of these options. You know, they don't even know, because to them, culturally, religiously, they just believe you have to submit no matter what I get. So what is your foundation doing to get to that
So like you said, the peri-rural areas, the grassroots. Because like it or not, majority of us live in the peri-rural areas. So what we do is, one of the initiatives that we're implementing is addressing traditional birth attendants. Now, traditional birth attendants are community members, typically women, sometimes men, and they are usually informally trained with regards to deliveries and treatment of women in their communities. So there's a lot of controversy about the role of a traditional birth attendant, but they still serve a very important role. And then the trust issue in these communities when it comes to abuse, traditional birth attendants are the women that actually are seen to be the ones that would administer advice and give care. So in partnership with the ACT Foundation, we are now training traditional birth attendants. We have 500 traditional birth attendants across different local government areas that we're training. And we're training them with a simple toolkit, identifying the abuse, knowing where to seek the services, because like you rightly said, many of these women have no idea. And then we're taking the burden of that care off them. And so by this partnership, we're able to now reach these other community
Is there a way
members.
we can tell the pastors that they are not qualified
As counselors.
as counselors? They
Just said it.
they can pastor
But the mummies in
their
Israel
congregation.
can be
But
mummies in
Mummies
Israel.
in Israel can actually go for training because people trust the mummies in Israel.
Anyone can
They
go
can
for training.
if they will go.
So they should go for training is the right
That's
word.
exactly what it
So I
is.
have
It's training.
Two tweets
It's all
quickly.
training.
Banky says, violence against women is not good, but most of the times women push men into doing that, although I'm not in support. The last one, Prince says, when will we ever discuss violence against men now? My girlfriend in my final year had to break up with me because according to her, we were 2 years into the relationship and I hadn't slapped her or boxed her. And before I could say Jack, she tore down my crib into pieces and left. She was used to abuse. So 2 issues quickly if you can round off
Well,
on
the
that.
first one about justification, there is no justification for abuse.
Okay.
Whether or not she picks up a knife at you, whether she hits you, whether she actually encourages it, there is no justification. You leave that situation alone. You remove yourself from that situation. The other gentleman that made
the
reference
one-
to his
Girlfriend who was used to being abused.
Well, his choice of words are interesting. He said, but I didn't hit her. So in other words, what, verbal abuse, it's okay. Emotional abuse is all right. There are different forms of abuse.
So remove your
So it's
A
not
lot of
enough
women
to just...
verbally abuse their men.
So
A
everything is
lot of
abuse.
women
And that could be a
verbally
trigger.
abuse their men.
Yes.
But that's the point we're making. Is it a trigger? There shouldn't be a trigger.
Right.
And we cannot continue to accept that, oh, because the woman spoke out of turn, or in some instances because of what she wore, or because of the
deserves
time
it.
of the day,
Right.
then it's understandable.
Right,
There
right.
is never a time
Well, we can't
that is
we can't
understandable.
really exhaust this conversation because the truth is that it's still there. We have to keep talking about it,
That's
keep talking
correct.
about it, and then go into the rural areas because, as I said, people who are educated, some of them have this information, but they choose to say, you know what, let me just stay in the city in that situation. But a lot of rural areas, we need more
You
sensitization.
don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice. So thank you so much.
Thank you for
coming on the
having
show.
me.
Hopefully we'll bring you back again.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
1 year
right.
of work.
And thank you
Once
for
again,
coming.
we'd like to
Thank
thank those
you.
of you who have uploaded the videos for the auditions. Thank you so much. Hopefully by this weekend, we should know our final 30 and we'll announce them next week. Have a fabulous day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Forgiving Tuesday.